This chord tone soloing trick really inspired my guitar playing. In this video, I will teach you a simple chord tone soloing exercise, then show you how to use it to play confident guitar solos over the chord changes. You'll want to grab your guitar for this one. Let's break it down. We will use a C7, F9, and a G9. We will use this 1-4-5 progression in the key of C for these examples today, but just like these chords, all of these chord tone soloing ideas are movable. The pentatonic scale does sound great over this. But if we target the chord tones within that pentatonic scale, it starts to sound more bluesy and you'll be confident when you play a guitar solo. So what is a chord tone? It is the note in a chord. The notes that make up a chord are a chord tone. So for C7, we have the root, third, fifth, flat 7. Continuing up the arpeggio, root, major third, fifth, flat 7, root. We're just going to keep all of these ideas in this 4 or 5 fret area today, just so we can really use the pentatonic scale with these new ideas. So we have the structure of that arpeggio. Those are the chord tones, our target notes to really bring out the sound of the chord as we play a guitar solo. Hugs the C7 chord, sounds great. This is actually just another C9 shape here. Just like you would play C9 down here. This doesn't have a root in it, but it sounds great and bluesy over that C7. They're kind of interchangeable. So the exercise I first want to show you is using these target notes, these chord tones, and create movement to them using chromatic notes. This is the idea I want to get across to you, so you can do this with each chord, and these are movable. So the root note here in the 10th fret of the D string, and then we walk up from 7, 8, 9 on the G string, which ends up to be the E note, which is the major third of the C7. And just hitting the 5th of that chord, which is a G note, 8th fret of the B string. Again. And then we'll get back to the root after that. 10th fret walking down to 8. Then you have your flat 7 there. It's a B flat note. So all together. And then the last part, we can walk down a step farther. 10th fret on the A string is a G note. And walking down to that E note, which is the major third, from the 5th, 7th fret is that major third. Sounds great. Now we can use the same movement over at F7 or F9. Those two chords are interchangeable in the blues. So the arpeggio here would be I'm going to do that over. That sounded horrible. So the arpeggio for the F7 It's a little different fingering because of the way the guitar's tuned, but the G9 or G7 arpeggio is the same. G7 arpeggio. But we could use those same movements. This is actually a formula you can use for each chord. So for the C, we started with the root, walked up to the major third, hit the fifth, and then we walked down from the root to the flat 7. So we can do that for the F7, G7. You can hear it. So we just start on the root, and the F would be the root in the 10th fret of the G string, walking up on the B string from 8, 9, 10, and that's your major third there, which is an A note. Hitting a C note here in the 8th fret of the E string, and then chromatically walking down 10, 9, 8 on the G string. So starting on the F, and the same movement for the G7. You can use that for each chord. Coming up really soon here, I'm going to show you how this works in the real world over just a little groove here with my looper. And for the F and the G, you can also start on that root and walk down again from the 5th to the major third. For the F, it would be the 10th fret, 9, 8, 7, down to the A, which is the major third of the F chord, the F7. G, and then the G would be walking, just taking that a step farther, 12, 11, 10, and then coming down here to that B note. So the movement for each chord G, so let's see how this works with this groove on my looper here. We can use the exercise that I showed you earlier for each chord, but add elements of the C minor pentatonic scale, those licks we know and love. Because those other notes, what we just learned, the arpeggio, the chord tones, bring out the chord, the sound of the chord, which is a good thing. It's just a very connected sounding solo. Just simple phrases like that. Bend in the 10th fret of the G string, half bend. Hitting 10 and 8, root note, 10th fret of the D string. Then you just do exact same exercise and going to the next chord, F9. I just did a little chromatic thing back here from 6 to 7 on the D string up to that A note, that major third, hitting the root note here, 10th fret of the G string, and then it's back to C. Once you get up to the root note, you have that major third right underneath it. Then you can skip up that way. 8, 8, 11 on the E, and then 10 on the B string is that A note. Then 8, 10 on the B string, 8 on the G string, slight bend, back to the root, 10th fret of the D string. Then as it goes to the G9 or G7, then I just going back to the F, I was just doing a quick minor pentatonic lick. Just right down the scale. Once you start doing this, it inspires you to play it in a lot different way. You're not stuck in a little box. You're moving up and down the fretboard with these half-step chromatic notes, and it just sounds bluesy, and it sounds connected because you're going up and down to the chord tones. Up, down, down. Just sounds connected. I appreciate all your support. Thanks so much for hanging out with me, and let's talk soon.